Once again, welcome back. This is still Daybreak Africa. Reaching from our studio saying Ondo City. I am Ezekiel Ogar. This morning we'll be discussing on international cultural diversity with Wale Oyedeji, a lecturer in the Federal University of Adeyemi here in Ondo City. Now, held every year on the 21st of May, the World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development celebrates not only the richness of the world's culture, but also the essential role in intercultural dialogue for achieving peace and sustainable development. Like I said, we have a lecturer in the house, the Department of English, to talk to us as to the issue of cultures. I think as it affects Nigeria, basically.
Of course,
we are one,
this is a lecture. I'm very sure it's going to be doing a lot of lecturing.
Actually, welcome on Daybreak Africa, Wale.
Thank you.
A very good morning to you.
You too.
Now, straight to the topic of discourse.
Okay.
We talk about culture, we talk about diversity. We are a nation, Nigeria, with a lot of culture. We are very diverse in a lot of them. How have you, let me say, what is your take when it comes to what culture have done or has done to us in our ethnicity, and how we'll be able to bridge the gap in the ethnicity crisis in Nigeria?
Thank you. I think we have to understand that we need to contextualize your question now. When you're asking how or what culture or the diversity of our culture in Nigeria, how has it helped us perhaps improve as a nation?
That's when we talk about a situation, we have the positive and the negative.
The positive sides of it. And
so I want you to discuss both the positive and the negative
side. Okay. I'll begin by telling us the vital role that the instrument of culture play in every human society. With regard to SDG, that is United Nations position right now, where they want to actually see culture as a means of progress. You understand? How do we use culture as a tool of development and progress like that? One, we should understand that development is perceived differently across the globe. You know, there are various dimensions of development. Sometimes you may have cognitive development, sometimes you may have social development, sometimes technological development, and even emotional development. But development cannot be defined without you understanding the cultural factor that gives rise to it. A culture, like some anthropologists have defined, for example, you know, it entails the totality of your behavior, moral behavior, your habits, your customs, even the laws that people acquire as members of a society. So when we understand that it is unique to a certain people, to a specific individual, a specific group of people, we must as well understand that they can never progress without them putting into place the foundation of their culture. You cannot, your culture is your identity. You definitely cannot move further without you taking, your culture with you.
Your identity.
Now, your identity with you. When we now consider the situation of most of the third world countries of the world, where you fix Nigeria now,
of course,
you have to understand certain conditions around the issue of development, around the issue of progress entirely. Consider our own very unique history now as Nigeria, as Africans. We were all at a point in time perhaps colonized by the Western world that found it necessary to bring diverse cultures together in order to enhance their own colonial ambitions. You understand? Now, doing that, you have placed different sort of people together under the same umbrella in order to ease your own colonial ambition, but not necessarily considering how it's going to affect their development in the long run. Look at Europe. You look at European countries, you realize that there are so many countries there. Some of them that there are not as many as even the thief culture in Nigeria. You know the thief culture, right?
Of course I do.
Nupe culture. If you consider France, even the whole of English now, that includes all the United Kingdom now, like about 4 countries there. The totality of them may not be as many as Yoruba people, as Igbo or the Hausa. You get? They understand that their culture must be the basis of their development. That's one of the reasons why they identified that identity.
But sorry to cut you there. If I might get you correctly.
Okay.
From you saying, according to how they have grouped it, bringing diversity under one umbrella.
Yeah.
And for them to be able to aid their way and the way they see how their colonialism should go.
Yeah, of course.
Are you saying that some elements of what we are as Africans, especially the third world countries, we lost it along the way?
You definitely cannot do away with that. Because in the course of us struggling to live as a people together in ex-colonized countries now, there are certain aspects of our culture that we are trying to, you know, to force out of trends in order to satisfy the nationalist identity that has been imposed on us. Britain, France, Germany, and all those countries, when you bring them out individually, quite a number of them are not as big as the cultures you have in Nigeria. In fact, that means that in the course of our upbringing, we have been taught wrongly what the idea of culture is. That's why in most cases we address ourselves as tribes. We are not tribes. We are ethnic societies. We are independent in our own capacity. Of course, if you find the Hausa culture within the terrain of Europe, you call them their specific name.
Of course.
Do you understand? But when you come to ex-colonized country, we have bastardized that nomenclature. We begin to refer to ourselves as tribes. No, we are not tribes. We are ethnic group. I mean, different ethnic groups within the country. Now, if you now ask me, how has it contributed to our growth, or perhaps how has it undermined our development?
So let's see the positive side first.
Now, we have to begin to ask ourselves, what is the place of every culture within the country in relation to global development, in relation to project of development globally? Now, how many culture within the country is ready to at least, you know, jettison some things that are drawing them back naturally? There's some aspect of human culture that they are naturally barbaric. You know, for you to grow forward, or for you to move forward, of course, you have to do away with that.
Yeah,
now, you ask yourself, within the context of Nigeria, there are still some culture that are still unnecessarily, you know, fronting patriarchal system, for example. Now, patriarchal attitude, especially by way of undermining the position of women in their different society. And again, as a lecturer, I can tell you that some of these things, they are the miscarriage of the right knowledge of what constitutes the African culture before the ascendancy of Europeans here. I will give you a very good example. A number of our cultures, they identify the place of women in our total development, in our development, social development, technology development, wherever you can mention. But as they came, of course, there was going to be a change of attitude to women, because that was the culture of European man that has come to us in Africa and in Nigeria. They tried to at least move women away from what is, the political engagement of their community, of their society and all. We inherited that culture as Africans now, and it is gradually, or perhaps it has monumentally affected our progress entirely. Today now, you see men that are unnecessarily patriarchal in nature, suppressing the power of female, undermining the potential contribution they can make to the development of a place.
But if I will understand, if we say we are imbibing the ways of the Western,
yes,
we try to want to understand that mostly the Africans are believed to people that say women belongs in the kitchen, they belongs to take care of the home.
No.
And
that perception should be okay. Go on.
Not really pushing development forward. They feel like if anybody is supposed to be at the forefront of development,
it should be
men. Now, if we are supposed to understand the ways of the European and we want to really imbibe their culture, definitely we should do like them, because we see a lot of female doing exploits.
No. You see, this is where education comes in. Whatever idea anybody is sharing with you as an intellectual, you must historicize it. That is the first thing you should do. If I tell you this is what you do in your household, you must ask yourself, at what point did we begin? At what point did this stop? Because sometimes it is exogenous influence of things that usually perhaps compel people to change attitude to things. If anybody is telling you that we are misogynistic in nature, no, that's wrong. It is within the context of European experience we had. In fact, when European man came, they were surprised by the way we had our things arranged, because women participated in every angle of our politics, in every area. In fact, women are the dominant figures in our economic system before they came. And that was one of the reasons why missionaries who are part of the colonial system now, they were surprised by what they found there, because then in Europe, women were not given that opportunity of participating in anything that can enhance their progress. In that case, they are bringing that attitude to this place. You understand? It is like, this is what we do in our house, and I have conquered your environment like this. You know, I'm going to introduce it. You imbibe it in the long run, and we have taken that today. They are modifying that culture. They are progressing. But unfortunately, we have taken whatever we inherited, hook, line, and sinker, limiting our ability to progress as a people. I hope you get what I'm saying.
At some point, make it sound as if the Western culture tends to destroy our rich cultural heritage as Africans.
Yes.
Am I really getting that correctly?
Of course, you get it. In fact, there are so many historical pieces of evidence that actually substantiate that position. of course, there are many good things that Europeans did.
Which everybody will agree with you, but saying they try to embed certain negativity into our culture, don't you think probably it was on our part? Maybe we tend to over amplify certain things they brought.
I will ask you one.
Do it against.
Give me an example of one.
That's why you're the guest here. So I guess
no, because I'm trying to say this because sometimes when we
now take for instance the issue of democracy.
Okay, democracy.
Yes, they brought in democracy,
Okay.
and for in the long run, we have been using democracy as Africans.
Okay.
But it's not free from, say, irregularities or certain form of malpractice.
Okay.
Now that was on our part, but democracy in itself is good. I believe you agree with me, even as a lecturer.
Okay.
So don't you think things as that is actually not their fault? I mean, let's believe maybe they have the best of intentions, but individuals tend to manipulate that intention.
Just suit their own desire.
Now let us go this way. Again, I'm going to address this as a lecturer. When you come out to achieve a purpose, in most cases, we should not take your words hook, line, and sinker. We shouldn't take it at face value. We should take your actions at face value. Does that make sense? Now, when you look at the democracy you said we inherited, you ask yourself, what is the foundation of that democracy we inherited in Africa? We are three. Let's say, for example, you are from Enugu, I'm guessing now. I am from Oshun. He is from Kaduna. He has his own established system of governance. You have yours, I have mine. But in exchange for all these three, I am substituting it with what you call democracy. Perhaps a system of government that you are not familiar with. Now, democracy does not give you the ability of equal representation alone. It imposes a prayer for you to be represented there. On you too. Because if you want to seize power, you want to seize power, I also want power. In the course of doing that, we are going to play all these things you call the things we dent democracy with. They are natural. You look for power, it is natural. Here you are seeking for economic power. Seeking economic power is your own passageway to getting political power, one way or the other. So I ask you that we should not follow the people who carry the misconception around like that of course democracy is good, but I ask you, what are the system practice before you have democracy? Let me break it down for you. I'm familiar with that of Yoruba. If I'm not familiar with any other one, I'm aware that in every political setting, let's say take Ondo for example, nearly every house we have their representative representing them in the courts. I mean, the palace courts. You get it? They say this one is Iyalaje. Iyalaje has an interest she's representing. This one is Babaloja. Babaloja has an interest, which means it is more democratic than what you have even thought of. Because people there, that's the democracy now.
They carry the interest of their people
representing
directly.
It is not a question of what they say by people or for wherever you have government, it's not always for the people. But we are talking of EU of representation. You ask yourself in the contemporary time, is that the EU of representation in it?
Now let's do away from the colonial people and the Western people.
Yeah.
Let's come back to Nigeria.
Okay.
You will agree with me that most times when it's electionary process time,
Yes.
a lot of politicians will come down to us and cajole a lot of citizens with ethnicity and try to bring them together. We say, okay, you are from my place, vote for me and this and that. This, I will say, has been really playing a very huge part in our choosing of leaders. Okay. Now, this is a problem to some people, and some people feel like it is not a problem because it helps. Maybe when I'm there, I'm going to push for my people. Now, if it's the problem, where do you think we lost it?
Fine.
And if you have already know where we lost it, what are the solutions that we can do to make things work?
That's very good. You see, there is what we call stillborn of a good purpose. You see, after you have the Oyinbo, like you have called them now, after you have them come to our environment, we needed to build a nation. We needed to forge a common identity. It is a process. It is called nationalist process. In order to forge that nationalism, there are processes that you must undergo. But unfortunately, our leaders that took power from the colonial powers, they were seeking to satisfy their own ambition as opposed to representing democratically, or at least giving the people dividends of democracy. It means we don't have a nation. We have a set of people who are interested in milking the resources of a nation for their own provincial advantage. And
let's not forget, it takes two to tango, so it's not really all on them. When you say the word milk, it's more like they have a particular intention and we're doing all alone.
Don't they? He has asked me a question that our leader, I'm sorry now. Well, when you said it takes two to tango, you want to say that they are doing so by our own indirect consent, right? As followers.
Directly or indirectly, but
Okay.
you know, there has to be a little bit of
I feel like
romancing.
exactly from what Ezekiel is just saying. I feel
Okay.
like if you are governing over me,
Yes.
there must be some leverage of let me say I give you the chance for you
Okay.
to do it.
Exactly.
I
Because
don't know if all these questions are because I like to ask whenever I'm interacting like this.
of course.
In order to reveal the maybe weakness or the strength of an argument. What sustains us as a people? Food, basically.
Of course.
You have eaten before you came here, right? Let's imagine that you have not eaten, or you are the one in charge of our food. You are the one in charge of it. You get. Take for example, during the palliative of a thing, you have access to it. Before any one of us,
We have to consult him.
we have to consult you. Now imagine that you deliberately withhold it. You seize our access.
But
to
before
it.
he begins to
Please,
be
I'm-
the one
please,
in
I'm sorry.
charge, before he begins to be the one in charge
Yes.
of the food,
Yes.
if we are following what we say democracy and we are following the laws,
Two of you have to be
we have to be the one to have put
the
him
know.
in that position. So when we put him in that position, that's still come back to what you've said earlier about using the power according to what the few
Now, I
issues-
understand. I understand
Leadership
your
position,
pressure.
excuse
I
me, I'm
understand.
sorry.
Please.
Leadership position, there shouldn't be vacuum at any point in time. Do you get it? Either you partake or participate in it or not, there will always be leaders in anywhere we find
whether
ourselves.
by election or by unpicking or anything.
There will always be leaders.
But somebody must have put them there.
Let's say the people that are there, they put them there, they may not be available any longer. If they are not around, will you blame them? But they are there. We are saying the economic structure of every society is always tied to the apron string of certain individuals within that environment.
Very
You are talking as if you are not aware of the global politics where we have the 1%ers controlling the affair of the world. Talk about the Bill Gates of the world. Talk about those people that are producing Pfizers and all like that. There are people who are always in control of events. That is not negotiable. If that is the case, like I am actually saying, he sees the key, the access to it. We don't have opportunity to access them. It does so 2, 3, 4, 5 days to the point that we are getting emaciated and we need food so desperately. It now brings you something. Give us crumbs. Do you think we are not going to show some kind of appreciation to it? But if we have, in the course of us building a general identity, if it is something we all have interest in, we all invest in, by the way of holding stake, you hold a stake, you don't want it to spoil. Are you getting it now? I ask you, but I know you may not provide me an answer. What stake does an average Nigeria hold in Nigeria as a country? Do they really hold that stake? That stake does not belong to them, but the 1%ers controlling them. You'll have not talked about election and all like that. You know how it runs now. You know the logicality, you know the process, you know how the thing are bastardized and stuff like that. So what we are saying is that first, we must have a country.
So that's back to my question.
Okay.
Where did we lose it?
We lose it at the point of not being able to forge a common identity as a people. Because we don't have a nation as that. As an American, for example, now, an American will wake up and say, God bless America. Because one, there is a common creed. There's a common wish. There's a common hope. There's a common direction they are looking forward to as Americans. Is there a common direction we are looking forward to as a Nigerian? I don't think so.
I believe we look towards development. Every Nigerian looks towards a
course,
better
we want
Nigeria.
great
We look
But you
towards-
understand it in different dimensions.
How so?
That is very human because I can still put
I think
it
he wants to
even
justify
the
that.
Americans.
Okay.
The Americans that you say, okay, God bless America, and they have it.
Yeah.
I cannot say to you, and I don't think you also believe that.
Okay.
Every 100% of them believes in the same thing.
Mm.
Ideology
Okay.
will be there. We
Okay.
also have the bias.
Okay.
Of course, we might see it the same way, and we might not also see it the same way.
Okay.
So this also comes to play.
Okay.
Because
in
I
our
want to
nation.
believe every Nigerian
It
seeks for
doesn't. I will
peace.
tell you
Every
why.
Nigerian seeks for.
I'm coming back to you. You may say we seek for this, but within what context? You have brought something before now. The questions, I don't know if you have forgotten that. You said one, somebody wants to represent the and say, when I get there, I want to support the interest of my people. He says my people is on people. Does that happen in America? Because
Of course, they
system does
have
not follow.
factions, and they still do it.
No, if you are a president for Americans, you are the president of Republicans, Democrats, and the Independents all together. You all
Now,
just
don't forget, those could be in papers, but not in actuality.
No, that is in
let's be honest with ourselves now.
You know that. Let us be realistic.
I'm
In fact,
trying to.
to a considerable extent. That is why we see
This
the
is not being
I'm sorry, please.
realistic here. We are just trying to basically put our thoughts and whatever we are saying here to back it up with a lot of evidence.
Yes, and we see that it's playing out in Nigeria. For example, at each electionary process, some people try to at least take advantage of our, ethnic weaknesses. You understand? Some people try to manipulate us on this and that. But what I'm saying, in essence, is that if we have a nation that we all invest in, I'm saying investing in, we have stake in it. The reality of the man who is in Kaduna today is different from the reality of the man that is waking up in Enugu.
Possibly.
The man in Kaduna perhaps might be battling the idea of going to school. The man in Enugu wants to do business. You get. The man in Yoruba might want to go to school. You get. But what is important, or what is important, is that we must satisfy them at their various point of needs. Are you getting it now? We are now using the same curriculum development for the man who is in Kaduna, who is perhaps not interested in this kind of education system, but the man who is. Are you getting the idea now? In that situation, there will be a kind of disjointed development. There can't be that
How
development.
does this exactly affect our identity, like you said? Saying our identity is the major factor.
Well, it affects us because we have this wall created in our mind as Nigerians. It is, of course, it is our mind. Of course, it is not a physical one. But you already have it. You already have it in you that you are different from some people. You get? Maybe you call it ethnic differences and all like that. Now, by having that attitude to nationhood, it is affecting the way we invest in the development of our nation. So that any individual can go out now and perpetuate evil, thinking, well, it is Nigeria, it doesn't affect me. Are you getting it now? How do we see the country? That is very important. If you see an average Nigerian now of this age, 24, 25 and so on like that, what is their understanding about a nation's development? Anybody, one of them, can take advantage of the country when they say that it is weak. That's why somebody will just say, I want to do Yahoo, you want to do this and that. They are taking advantage of the country. But if they invest in it and they understand the fragility of that thing that you call identity, you don't want it to spoil. We all come from houses now, different houses. We all want to be representative of that house because we have emotional investments in those houses. Do you get it? We have social investments. We have even spiritual investments in those houses. But when every country, that is the foundation of every country. So the moment the pillar is not in any way stable like that, of course we cannot have a strong.
At this point, a minute, Michael. Subscribing to your thoughts of our separate identity, are you of the opinion that since we're already by default into regions, is separation the way out for you?
Separation?
Yes.
You said
more like the north, the west, the east?
No.
Bearing in mind you said we have our different identity, and so it's more like a major factor for us.
We must have a common creed, common belief. Nigeria has to progress. This is what we want to meet up with.
How do we do that?
I'm coming. The president, all of these people who are representing us at the political houses, they can do that very easily. Listen, this is what we want. It's not like these things are not there, but they exploit them because they are weak. They exploit the city when we have weak institutions. Nearly all those things that make every other country great in the world, we have them in our country as well. Don't we have police?
So are you saying they are dormant, they are not working?
And at this point, I think I'm kind of lost.
Different from that. We are saying it is not functioning effectively. Are you getting it?
They are functioning, but they are not functioning effectively.
Effective, you get. So if we have a common goal that this is what we want to achieve, for example, as a country, we want to, let's say, we want to be the cultural capital of the world or Africa. You get. Fine. Everybody can now go to their own background and say, okay, this is what I want to explore in my own aspect of culture. That will make us achieve that aim. The Hausa people can go on and say, okay, we have this kind of musical performance in our own cultural something. Let us exploit it, explore it, so that we represent Nigeria as a whole in Africa, as a capital. You get it now? Fine. But these things are not well defined. Things are just done haphazardly. Things are not well organized, and it boils down to our own misunderstanding or misapplication of cultural ideals. That is one of the things that I think is affecting us, because when you are well molded, even I think there's some aspect of the biblical whatever that make reference to that when the foundation is not well laid, of course whatever you build up on it will not stand erect. So we must go back to all these things and make amendments, adjustments where necessary.
Now, I get your point.
Okay.
That we should go back, possibly retrace our steps.
Definitely.
But if we try to go back to a little of economics, human needs and wants. Let me say wants are insatiable because you cannot really satisfy every human. Now, we are people with a lot of wants
Okay.
As you said, the man in Enugu, what he
Yes.
wants and what he believes, what he
Okay.
subscribes to will be different
Okay.
from someone in Kaduna.
Okay.
And you're bringing these people together. We want to strike an agreement.
Okay.
We want to work together. We want to build an identity to foster unity and bring
Yes.
everything good out.
Yes. Yes.
Of course, in Enugu, we have a lot of people, and possibly they will have different ideology.
Okay.
They will have different they felt they need.
Okay.
The man in Kaduna too will face the same thing.
Okay.
How do we bring this together? That now brings me to what Ezekiel said earlier.
Okay.
Don't you think
Okay.
going separate ways is the best?
Well, he suggested, but I'm still coming back to his suggestion. We are all from different households, aren't we?
course.
Sometimes we disagree with members of our household. Doesn't mean we take away the identity from that household.
You talk about household, you talk about people that you were together. Now,
No.
something must have brought the
I'm
country and the
coming.
people together.
They forged it. The household you have seen that they have emotional investment, they forged it. You may decide not to be a member of your family. Nobody's going to question. You know that, right? Of course you can.
But by blood, you are connected.
You say you are connected, but maybe they don't.
I
they
did not say
disown
so.
people?
By biological terms, you are
they
connected.
disown
But somebody that you said you want to foster something with,
I'm
that
still
you
going
are
to
not
answer your
connected by
question.
anything.
I like
It's going to be very
analogy.
hard, okay?
You know, I like analogy.
Of
like that.
course.
What you have asked is tied to the area of dialogue that is entrenched in the topic you brought. You get cultural diversity for dialogue and development. I will tell you, I would say that dialogue satisfies it. We say these are your wants, like we have said. These are your needs. So. Fine. We know they are diverse. We know sometimes they are irreconcilable. But what is important is that in the course of you pursuing your needs, your wants, we shouldn't do it in a way that is going to threaten or expose the other person to danger. Because when you do so, you take away their rights, in fact, right up to existence. You get. So dialogue is what we need. We may not necessarily go our separate ways as Nigerians. You understand? Because in the real sense, the complexity of global politics today requires that there is a strong kind of unity, a kind of togetherness with which you can stand, among the developed countries of the world today. If we go our separate ways, we are more vulnerable that way. You understand? We are more vulnerable that way. There may be crimes here and there. Like, of course, some people may be protected in the long run, but the thing is that you may not have peace, with your neighbors and eventually. But we can maintain this Nigerian this Nigerian identity of a thing, and understand that each of us need to pursue development based on our understanding. That is why I define development at the initial stage. That development must be tied to our cultural understanding. Consider, for example, there are some cultures that may prioritize economic development. Money, it is about money. But when you do that, is it not at the detriment of your social, emotional, mental development? Do you understand? So if we understand that these things are all necessary, then we now come back to it and say, okay, fine. If this is how you perceive development, pursue it. In as much as you are not threatening the survival of others. In as much as you are fine, you understand. In that way, the Igbo person will not be a burden to a Yoruba person. The Yoruba person will not be a burden to the thief. The thief will not be a burden to the Hausa. And we're going to be very good together. We have a common creed. We want to build this identity in the national community. This is what we want to be. We want to be morally upright people. We want to be diligent people. We want to be this and that. But the way we achieve all these things will differ.
So in essence, it's not exactly the flaws from the Western culture there, because at some point from the onset, you said the Western culture tends to bring certain flaws and challenges to our culture, which you claim was rich in heritage. Yeah. And now you're talking about lack of identity, lack of a common goal, more like a belief system being different. So in this case, it's kind of complicated.
Right?
Yeah.
Fine.
Let
me harness it for you.
Let me say,
please let me answer it.
Of course you will. Let me say, we are out of time, so please in just 2 minutes.
2 minutes. This is Kaftan TV.
Sure.
You have the ways you do your things. Of course. You understand. In fact, the way you do your things is what gives you that unique identity. Now imagine we have Ogbori Ogun TV. Ogbori Ogun TV just came here someday, rambled or whatever you have, disrupt the systems and all. Eventually, maybe they spend 2, 3, or 5 days and they have successfully reprogrammed, recalibrated your own system. Eventually, you have to do with the system they have. You may succeed in doing it. You may otherwise. Are you getting it now? But the problem is that you are dealing with the bastardized system that you inherit. It is a system that is affecting your reaction.
How does the system affect our identity in this case?
No. I'm saying the system that we inherited right now allows some people to exploit the vulnerability of the country. For example, now if you have your leaders, you have our leaders now. Leaders are the one controlling us either directly or indirectly. They have the economic power, they have the political power, or this and that. It is that political and economic power that disallows us from understanding the basic things that will form the foundation of our development.
Your point is?
My point is that you are struggling now. You want to achieve something because that is in line with the existing systems you have now, the political systems you have now. And these things are contradicting the values, your own values as Hausa, my own value as this and that, his own value as. If we don't have to battle identities, that it's from Yoruba, please vote for me because it's from Yoruba, we may not necessarily play dirty politics at that level. Are you getting it now? And playing dirty politics at that level is perforating to the basic level here that we as individuals.
Actually, we are almost out of time, but I know for sure there's not a smoke without fire, and if the Western culture tends to inflict certain fire around, there has to be smoke, there has to be, say, a dry firewood around.
I as a person, I also believe that for somebody to come into your home, as you said, be able to disrupt things, there
has to be a crack somewhere.
A crack. So let's just say this meeting, this program is going to be inconclusive.
Of course, I think you like that word.
We still come back
again. It's an interesting conversation.
Yes, because it has been very, very, very educating. I really enjoyed it.
Yes.
And we must say very much thank you to you for coming. And I'm very sure you will be back here again because we have a lot of things to talk about.
I'll be interested to at least come discuss issues like this. They are always of interest.
Of course.
We shouldn't match them together. I think this is my concluding remark, right? Yeah. We shouldn't match things together. The point of connection between what we inherited and what we have now is that we have been unable to build a unique identity after inheriting. You see, the Oyinbo coming is not the problem. Everybody has a tendency to manipulate others if you have the power.
Very true.
But when you are done after it, how do you respond? This is my own line of argument. The earlier response we had from our leaders was contradictory to our own cultural foundation, and it's what is eating us deeply today. You understand? If anybody, if an 18-year, a 17-year-old boy is seeking to drive a car of 20 million, you ask yourself why. You get you may not be able to link it directly.
Something might be wrong somewhere.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you coming on the program today. And as we said earlier, we look forward to have you some other time. Hello, viewers. I'm very sure you did enjoy this. I know you still want him to be in the studio to do more justice to the topic. But of course, I said it is inconclusive and we'll still be back. From here, we'll be handing over to our Lagos studio, which we believe that will give you more juicy package. From here, I'll be saying bye-bye. I am Michael Obagiri.
Have a wonderful day ahead. I remain Ezekiel Ogar.